welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we are going to be covering the 2024 preview event for the 6th anniversary of Sea of Thieves with the Gold Hoarders. Now, if you want all of my thoughts and reactions to this, there is a link in the show notes to the YouTube video that will give you a blind reaction to what was shown at the preview event. I sat down, I watched it, I reacted to it, gave you my honest thoughts. The discussion this week is going to be with the Gold Hoarders, what they thought of it, what they liked, what they didn't like. And as always, I think it was a great way to kind of see from a different perspective what people are thinking about this 2024 event. Now, one of the things that I did want to mention that I don't know that I really got to speak about too much was I managed to get to level 50 in my servants for Hourglass. It's a long time coming. I think like a quarter or halfway there based on the actual amount of reputation, but 50 levels down, 50 levels to go. I still am not really enjoying Hourglass, unfortunately. I wish I was. I'm not, but that's okay because I've been very grateful to have Godhammer and Wailing Witch with me during the time that we do Hourglass to try and work on that together. We seem to be a pretty good team and able to pull out most wins when we're going in. Not a flawless streak, but definitely getting some success in there. But I think overall you're going to enjoy this episode. We had a really good time talking with it. And there have been some issues with the game. Definitely a lot of crashes, a lot of trouble with matchmaking. I know the team has stated that they're working on this, which has been nice to see. That's all we can really ask for is just some good communication from the team, addressing that some of the issues that we're having are being addressed and that the team's aware of it. Hopefully fixes will come in soon. So hopefully you're having a good experience out there. I know I've seen some folks lose their cosmetics as well as their emote radials. So just bear with them. I know it's always tricky. I know it's always painful and frustrating. So grain of salt. If you get too frustrated, let's take a break. We'll do something else. We'll play some other stuff and have some fun there. But with that, let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to support this content so that they can join in for episodes like this. Remember, this happens on the last Saturday of every month where there is still a Monday. So if you're not sure, you can always jump into the Discord to help out if you have any questions or concerns about how to get access to that. If you are in the appropriate tier, just let me know. There's always ways you can do that. Head over to patreon.com, look for messages or anything that you can do to DM me. I'll give you answers there. The Discord as well, email, Twitter, Threads, plenty of ways to get in touch with me on social media. Just let me know. Otherwise, you're more than welcome just to take advantage of the Gold Hoarder channel. If you don't have to come if you don't want to. We did get some feedback over on the Patreon that I wanted to read out because I think some of this is actually pretty interesting. And given that this is the Gold Hoarder episode, I like the fact that even though some of the folks that can't make it to the live recording are still sharing their thoughts and feelings over on the Patreon side of things as well too. So I wanted to share some of this. This comes in from Jeff H, who you definitely have heard their name before. What I'm wondering lore-wise, and this is in regards to last week's episode from some of the information that we got lore-wise with Briggsy. What I'm wondering lore-wise are the following. Who let the Reaper parrot into Athena's fortune? If the lore holds, only pirate legends can gain access. As such, how would the Reaper parrot get inside other than another rat, i.e. pirate legend double agent letting it in? What or whom exactly are the Dark Brethren now concerned with? So much so that all their previous machinations have been shunted aside. Of course, DB related is, or Dark Brethren related is a question of the captain, his identity, his locale, his plans. I'm wondering if Chapman and co. have reworked the lore to reintroduce down the road a pirate's life too. That is, the story will perhaps run as follows. The Dark Brethren are in pursuit of Sparrow's crew. Jack's special cargo is what the Dark Brethren seek. Tinkerbell, who has powers / a cure of sorts / able to turn memory into reality, Their first thought, Merrick, They first thought Merrick, then Briggsy had the knowledge to lead them to Jack Sparrow. After realizing neither did, they sought a new path, and as a result have been written out of the narrative for the time being, but will return with a pirate legend or Pirate's Life 2. But yes, as you said, man, has this become convoluted. Thank you, Jeff, for writing in. I 100% agree. It's really strange that they've decided to go this route. I think a lot of it just comes down to them really having to decide that things have just gotten so far away from them from what they originally planned that they are going to have to try and retcon a lot of this. And they already have enough lines or enough irons in the fire that they want to address. And it'll all kind of tie to the comics. I think the comics are probably the most solid line of lore that we can expect them to follow through with when it comes to that, since it all has to get done, inked, and printed in a digital sense. Also coming out to us with Patreon comments, since they weren't able to make it, we've got Tommy D, who wrote in and says, "The return of Long Zam. Wow. Love it. I think the button is called the menu button, but I just call it select and the hamburger button start. Grew up on the NES, and that is how it will always be for me. The vault key exploit. The rare vault key can be found on one of the small islands that have 3 places where the key can be buried. Park your ship there, vote on the mission, and just cycle them till you dig it up. I ran into some that they just started playing the game, and this was the only thing that his friend showed him how to do, and he had about 8 keys in an hour. He didn't do the vaults, he just sold the keys. I had to teach him how to actually play the game. Let's see, if any PlayStation people get a shrouded ghost before me, there will be hell to pay, maybe. Red Baron pizza is delicious, but I doctor it up with Italian spices and Munster cheese before baking. That sounds delicious. Big ups to the team for Marley. I 100% agree there. Let's see. There should be a world event that requires cooperation of other crews. I want a new region, but I would also need more ships on the server. Interesting that we'll get to talk about that. Also, I think if I'm correct, Mina Fairy over in the Gold Hoarder chat actually responded in questions and feedback to this episode. The issue with Sailors Not Stronghold was when we dived to a fort to do it. If you got that fort, then the skellies on cannons would shoot at your ship. But when you got on the actual island, the music would stop and there'd be no skellies to kill. Dying didn't fix it either. So very interesting to find some of the issues that were in the patch notes. Hopefully some of those actually got fixed. If not, as I always recommend, find evidence, submit it, make sure that they have as many data points as possible, because they will constantly have that ticket reel going into the dev team to see, like, okay, the things that you thought were done or fixed aren't actually fixed. Please go back and take another look at these. All right. Now, with all of that said, I have to actually call out the patrons. We got some of their feedback in. You'll definitely hear some more Gold Hoarder feedback coming in with the rest of the episode, but I got to shout out all the people that are over on patreon.com supporting. So thank you to Adorable, L Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Hayes, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Iron John, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, I'm Dependano, Jorby Jorbs, Jay Hood, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Cryptic Slayer, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Nipper Kim, Norwegian, Raja the Brave, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Replicated Flame, Rustbelt Kid, Scamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Anthony N. Jr., Captain J. Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, the Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H., Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all for your love, your support. It means a lot to me to see these names every week. I really appreciate the attention that you give to me. and the support that you give for the community. Definitely make sure, the heads up, I just remembered there is a shortening of the season. It is just the full proper 3 months, where I thought it was going to be ending in April, and turns out it was going to end in May. Now it's going to be ending actually in April, so kind of coinciding with the PS5 launch. Still no word on how things are going to tie in with pre-orders for the beta weekend, as well as the pre-order and what is it called, the beta access content carrying over to Xbox, whether or not you actually have to log into your Xbox account on a PS5 to be able to get those cosmetics. I've got it pre-ordered on my PS5, so if I see anything or if I hear any word, I'll try to remember to mention it in the podcast for those of you who are collectors, who are trying to get these sales, who are trying to get this title, who are trying to get these pre-order items. Remember, you can always pre-order something up until the very last second. Like, you can always pre-order it. Now, the beta thing throws a little wrench into that, because you do have to have pre-order access to be able to participate in the beta, to be able to get those sales and stuff like that. I am going to see if I can find out some information. So I'm going to reach out to the team, send them an email, see if they can get me some sort of feedback on this, because it is something that I do think needs to be addressed, since there are so many people that are pre-ordering this to try and get those cosmetics. So try and remember about that from come Monday. But with that, I think we had a really good time talking about stuff. I think you guys will be very kind of guess where most people's excitement was with the 2024 preview event. And again, I'll go ahead and throw the link to my reactions for the full scope of what was going on in the show notes for you. Welcome everyone to the March edition of the Gold Hoarder episode. This week we have a bunch of folks jumping in. We're going to be talking about the preview event that happened on the 20th. That was the announcement of what is essentially going to be coming for the rest of Sea of Thieves' year for 2024. It was very interesting. If you guys want my opinion on it, I put out a reaction video on YouTube. I tried to get the audio set up for the actual podcast feed, but there's something going on with as far as like the actual volumes and stuff like that. So it's over on YouTube if you want to check that out. The reason why we're going to be talking about it today is because we've actually got a bunch of the Gold Hoarders on to talk about what their thoughts are on this. So unfortunately, with it being kind of double gold and double glory, we also have spring break going on. A lot of folks are out and about for their week. And I want to thank all the folks that did show up today. I do appreciate having your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. So let's kind of go down the list and introduce everyone so you get used to their voice. We've got Godhammer 6. Godhammer, how you doing?
Afternoon, not bad. Yourself?
Good. Had a pretty busy morning so far. How's your hourglass been?
Ups and downs. Pulled out some surprising wins and some rough losses, but we soldier on. We go forth because that's the hourglass grind, baby.
How's the matchmaking been? Has that been working?
Matchmaking this time around has been ups and downs. I would say today has been good. Yesterday was rough. And Friday and Thursday was a little too easy. Thursday we ran into literal children who were screaming because they didn't understand what they did. But we're not getting so much of that. It's not as feel bad as it was. So
that's good. Yeah, I've been trying to get some hourglass in this weekend, or actually the half of this week since the 21st. And just been running into a lot of trouble with the actual matchmaking aspect of it. I keep getting booted to the outpost. So I'm not sure what's going on with the code there, servers wise. I can't imagine it's that people aren't doing it. I imagine there's people actually doing it. But it's just not working as intended. So that's been
having a moment.
Yeah.
Game's having a moment.
Yeah, it's being picky. All right, moving on. We got Regis Stella coming in. Regis, how you doing? How's that? I know you got a new microphone. How's it sounding? You like it?
Yeah, I like it. I really like it. Yeah, it's really good. Although I have to say that during the preview event, it felt like it was a freaking dream, to be honest. Good, because I Because for those who don't know, I live in Australia, so naturally the world doesn't revolve around Australian times, so I have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the bloody morning for me to watch the Sea of Thieves preview event for this year, and I felt like watching the whole thing, seeing the things, just felt like it was a dream.
Yeah. Well, it might have been at 3 a.m. I could have been all a dream, and we're here to tell you that everything that you dreamt up was not actually the case, or maybe it was. I want to know though. I'm very curious about this. If it had been me, I probably would have just slept normal and waited till I woke up and like got a cup of coffee and like, rubbed the sleep out of my eyes. What possesses you to jump in at 3 a.m. to watch it live?
My love for Sea of Thieves, because it's at this point keeping me alive, to be honest. As long as the game's going, I'll be still around.
Well, that's fair. I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up we've got Static Mirror, who is on the way home. They were out and about, and I don't blame them because I just barely got home from the comic shop. So I don't know, Static, are you available, or are you still working on getting set up?
Yeah, I'm available. I walked through the door 2 minutes ago.
Oh, nice. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us. How are you doing, and how's your weekend?
Weekend's going by pretty good. It is cold and snowy here in Wisconsin, but the sun is shining, so most of the snow is gone already. And I'm looking forward to the forward seasons. I haven't had this weird tingly sensation since I first started playing the game. Ooh. I mean, that sensation's been kind of dying off, and then after watching a preview, you kind of like a kid on Christmas, you're just overwhelmed and overhyped, and you're hoping not to be let down, and hopefully that you get everything that you want. So that's kind of the feeling I got when I got home from work and I ended up watching the video, and I was like, oh my Lord, the tingle is back. I'm excited. I hope they stay true to everything.
Me too. Yeah. No, I very much hope that that everything that comes in this comes to the game and actually comes to the game the way that we hope it does, where it's well thought out and planned, and they've taken into account a lot of the concerns that we might have for that. So kind of looking at the preview event, if you guys haven't had a chance, there was a 20-minute video that came out. It showcased seasons 12, 13, and 14. And a lot of the 12 is going to be additions to the meta and sandbox of Sea of Thieves, where we're going to be getting a throwing knife, as well as a double barrel pistol that has shorter range than the standard flintlock, but more power than just the standard, kind of on, I would say, on par with like a blunderbuss if you do the double shot at the same time. We also had some announcements going on with season 13 as far as like a new world event that's going to be tied to Flameheart's return with the Burning Blade. And then season 14 was kind of like the far out there kind of things that are going on. I know I haven't covered everything that they announced, so I want to leave it up to you three. Is there something that was announced in this event that you thought was the thing that stood out the most for you? Like, what was the thing that you were most excited about? So, Regis, I saw you on mute. Let's go with what you think is going to be the thing that excites you the most.
The Burning Blade being the bloody man of war we've been asking for literally years at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. So, if you missed out on the event, Flameheart's Burning Blade is going to be a new event. This is going to be something that you can attack on your own, and once you actually get on the ship, you can take control of it, pledge yourself to Flameheart, who will be on the ship, and sail around as it's your own ship. You'll have a skeleton crew working with you. It will have 10 cannons compared to the standard 8, 2 aft cannons, 8 broadside cannons, and then did they consider the flame throwing meteor things? Was that like the 2 4 cannons, or did they have 2 4 cannons on top of that?
If you mean the 2 flamethrowers going out the front, then that's
those are part of the 10 cannons,
right? It's not the flamethrower is separate.
Oh, okay.
Because of course you need like a fire belching dragon ship of all things.
Yeah.
Which again, it looks like a dragon if its head attached to a ship, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really epic. They did an amazing job kind of rebuilding what that thing looks like. But effectively, you can pledge yourself to Flameheart. You can then go around to skeleton outposts to work on grabbing tributes that will be obtained through doing little puzzles and things that are tied to the lore with the ancients. And the more tributes you bring to Flameheart, the more value that thing has. Kind of like Hourglass, where you run around and if you're defending, the more treasure you bring on your ship, the bigger the hoard is. And once you defend yourself against an oncoming ship, you can then cash in that hoard for the value of the reputation. Kind of a similar thing here, just thinking like grander with Flameheart, the Burning Blade, a skeleton crew to work for you. And anyone can go and attack you as this world event. So effectively, this leaves it up to the players to determine whether or not they're going to leave Flameheart alone, or if they're going to actually attack Flameheart and try and take over the Burning Blade and then use that as their ship. Curious to hear from Godhammer and Static. Do you guys have any interest in this, or what are your thoughts on this?
You will remember a few Gold Hoarder episodes ago, I was hoping, it was one of our many wish list episodes, where I was looking for the big sovereign boat that starts at one end of the map of the Sea of Thieves and then moves to the other side. And as far as I'm concerned, this is basically what I was hoping for. Just gussied up in a Servants of the Flame sort of livery instead of that. So to say I'm satisfied is an understatement. And I will be looking forward to, which is frankly shocking for my good guy typical motivations. I am looking forward to pledging myself for Flameheart and sailing on this big old boat and letting rip with and having everyone come at us at the same time, because that's going to be such a fun thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
It seems very much like King of the Hill. Like you get to sail around on a big giant King of the Hill, and whoever gets to take you down gets the boon. Otherwise, you get to continue adding to the value of the boon, and then eventually
but
cashing
it's not only that, it's deeper than that. It's King of the Hill while also doing extraction mode stuff, because you have to get off the boat. Well, hopefully not all of you, if you're smart. You have to get off the boat, head down into the skeleton camp, do whatever puzzle they need you to do down there, secure the loot, bring it back aboard, and then you have to decide whether or not you want to keep going and doubling down. And eventually you're going to have to choose to either cash it all in or to keep going, because once you sell all your loot, the Burning Blade goes away and you get your ship back.
Yeah.
So it's intensely, and it was the best part of the it was easily the best part of the preview event for me. All of it was good, but this part, bravo, all I wanted. A worthy reward for the Reapers who pulled off the Fate of the Damned.
Yeah. I very much am interested to see this. I know a lot of folks have had ideas as far as like chests that earn gold the longer you hold on to them, but they weigh down the ship, so it's slower. I think this is a much better compromise. Static, did you want to jump in with some thoughts on the Burning Blade?
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed is, they said that there's going to be these skeleton forts that you have to like go to, or fortresses or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So one, I'm assuming that these are like new islands.
Hard to say.
Right. Like, because it's new structures that are being put in. Like, do they only pop up when Flameheart's ship is out and about, or are these just something that are always there that you can actually just go visit if he's not on the server? Because that kind of made me excited knowing like, oh, there's new islands that we get to poke around at finally. And are they finally going to do something with Sea Dog's Tavern and the unmarked islands that are also on the map? Like, that's kind of what I was wondering as well. With Flameheart's ship sailing around, it's going to be interesting. My only concern is that if you end up getting on a server that has a really, really sweaty crew that manages to take over the ship, like, because I've seen some people that like it's almost impossible to beat them. They just play that much, or they're just that good at the game. Is it going to promote actually having alliances to try and take this crew down, and you have the whole server going after one ship, or is it just going to be like one ship at a time trying to come down and take out this ship? Because when you're on Flameheart's ship, they already said that you have a skeleton crew that will also help repair and shoot and do other stuff. So if you've got a sloop that's trying to come in and take this ship down, or like maybe one galleon trying to come in, not only are you dealing with 4 players that are potentially really good, but you're also dealing with the skeletons and the skeletons that are repairing and everything else that comes with it. It seems like a really good crew that takes over this is going to be too big of a powerhouse. So my only concern is, what's the drawback of having this ship other than, like Godhammer said, with the doubling down and doubling down? Is the ship just uber slow? Like, is that its weak point, or like what's the weak point? That's kind of, I guess, what I want to know.
Yeah, no, that's really fair. So a couple things that I think I can answer based on the video that they provided. The skeleton outposts are persistent. You can go to them if you aren't aligned with Flameheart as part of the Burning Blade. The caveat to that is that if you pledge yourself to Flameheart on the Burning Blade, when you go to those outposts, all you have to do is really take care of the puzzle to work out what the tribute thing is there. The skeletons guarding it will let you pass. They will take you as part of their faction. If you're not allied or pledged to Flameheart on the Burning Blade, you have to approach this as you would like a sea fort, and then continue on with like the puzzle aspect of it to get tribute. So you can accomplish this without being in control of the Burning Blade. Everyone kind of feels like these are going to be new islands. I want to kind of push back on this and just kind of prepare people, because this is preview footage. We haven't seen what they're doing with this, but if you look, two parts. One, all of the concept art had some wilds content that showed like that what it would look like if it were in the wilds, but every actual render that we saw of these were in like a Shores of Plenty perspective, which is kind of like the default pretty thing to look at to get people interested in content that they're doing. So I would just be cautious and say that these could just be renders of what the outposts are going to look like. They may not be actually represented as new islands in the world. And part of me that wants to like emphasize that is we have seen alpha footage back when they planned to have like outposts and stuff built up on, like Smuggler's Bay was an example, where they had a giant turret, stone turret that was built up on there. And I asked Andy Preston about it once, and he said, oh, that was something that we thought about doing, where it would be kind of like a tower defense thing where you had to like take control of it and then defend it against people coming to it, but it just didn't work out. So that might be something that they're looking to do on outpost or on islands that already have like some of those broken down stone structures that we have, like Wanderer's Refuge and stuff. Godhammer, I saw you on mute. What do you got going?
I think either or is perfectly acceptable in this case. Either new islands somehow popping up, because not the first time new stuff's just popped up in the game, the fortresses and so on.
Yeah.
Or I am also just fine with let's say Sandy Shallows. Suddenly they've found an ancient temple under it. They've excavated and they've set up a skeleton camp over it. That's another example of like the world evolving due to the consequences of a decision, and I think that's great. I love it. Either or, I'm pretty sure I'll be perfectly happy with. Either a new place to explore or an existing place we already know and love, changing and evolving, which you want to see out of an evolving game.
Yeah, very much so. And to that point, some of the other things that I think we saw are finally making their way are things like zip lines. So zip lines are actually going to be making their way to the adventure mode just outside of where we first saw them, which was the Monkey Island Tall Tales. Regis went ahead with the Burning Blade as his favorite thing from this preview event. I'll open it up. Godhammer or Static? What was one of the standout thing that you actually liked? If it was the Burning Blade or if it wasn't?
I'm gonna say season 12.
Okay.
Not only because I'm excited to have a new season, because we've been sitting on number 11 a little bit too long now, but the fact that there's a new cannonball type, a new throwing type, like Blunderbomb, what do they call that? The bone bomb or something?
Bone collar, I think is what it was, right?
Yeah, the bone collar. Okay.
Something like that.
So, I mean, we got a new throwing type. We've got a new cannonball type. We also have new weapons coming in. It just, that's what's got me excited, is just to see more variety. You're not just going to see somebody with some sort of a gun and a sword, or you're not just going to see double gunners who throw blunderbombs everywhere. You're going to see new different metas for loadouts. I mean, double gunning seems to be a popular thing amongst a lot of more hardcore players for competitive wise. We might now see it's going to be a blunderbuss and the double barrel pistol. I mean, who knows? Maybe you can classify that as a triple gunner then, because you got 3 shots instead of 2, or you power up that double barrel and you've got 2 blundies. I mean, that seems a little interesting. But you also have the throwing knives. And from watching the preview a few times, it looks like the throwing knife is an item that anybody can pick up, even if you don't have it as a loadout. I'm not too sure, but that's what it kind of looked like when they had where he threw it into the door and the guy just walks over and grabs it and throws it back into the adversary. So it just, maybe throwing knives will just replace something in the throwing category, unless it's a actual separate loadout itself instead of sword. I'm not too sure, but if it is a separate loadout, then we can have loadouts of just throwing knives and swords, no gun. I mean, that's really kind of weird, but yeah. And the cannonball that puts multiple holes in a ship, that's interesting, because it is going to pose a problem for galleons. It is going to make trying to repair a galleon, I think, a little more difficult, even with a good crew. Because let's say you get a brig that comes up on the galleon, or another galleon, and that crew just happened to stock up on these specific type of cannonballs. They unload a servo of like 2 or 3 of them at a time, and now you've got probably 6 or 7 holes in the bottom of a galleon. Sure, they may be all level 1s or level 2s, but it doesn't take much for a galleon to load up with water when there's multiple holes in that bottom part of it. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen, but I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. So to kind of give a little bit more detail, there's a double pistol. It has 2 shots. You can just fire each shot independently, or you can charge them up to do both shots at the same time to do the same amount of damage as what we can tell is a blunderbuss shot if all pellets hit. It does have a wider spread than just like a flintlock, so the aiming on that I think is going to be very interesting. The throwing knife thing it feels like it's going to be ammo based, so think of like having 5 shots, you'll have 5 knives. You can throw them and pick them back up, but if you throw them, then someone else can pick them up. I would say that if someone else can pick it up, then they will either drop it or they will have to throw it if they already have like a full loadout. That's my guess, because most people are always going to have 2 weapons, since you can't really remove a weapon from your inventory. You always have to have 2 regardless of what they are. But I have a feeling that this will just be like treat it kind of like a throwable that doesn't count towards your inventory if you can pick it up. The other thing that we got that you're talking about is that cluster bomb or cluster cannonballs, where it's 4 shots, smaller shots that are tier 1 shots compared to like a regular cannonball, which will do repeated damage. It will do like a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. These are just going to cause tier 1s. I'm kind of more concerned about what this is going to be like with smaller ships. And Regis, I think you bring this up as well too. Regis, what's your concern as far as like smaller ships go with the cluster cannonballs?
just the fact that the scatter shot can do multiple damage to like small tier 1 size holes. It's bad enough for galleons, but it's going to be even worse for smaller crews, like, because smaller crews means less people to prepare those holes, and the faster it is for your ship to sink, because smaller crew means less manpower to actually repair those holes. So instead of dealing damage, instead of like for a sloop, it's going to be horrible for single player players on a sloop trying to take on a galleon if they're ballsy enough, and a few scatter shots would definitely put an end to that thing. I'm sure it's like tier 1 holes, but still, like, as they said, like tier 1 holes can still, as they said themselves, the red team that said themselves, the whole point of a scatter shot is to eat up an opponent's resources. So if you're like an undermanned crew, like a two-person brigantine or a solo super, it's gonna be bad for you. So it's gonna be a boon and a curse, a blessing and a curse for this new weapon, this new cannibal type.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting because while they only do like a tier 1 damage, shooting multiple ones, if you were to have any of those hit the same spot after multiple rounds, they would still kind of scale as far as like adding to a tier 2 to then to a tier 3. My main concern is if you have a scatter shot, it's going to be a shorter damage or a shorter range in damage compared to a standard cannonball. So treat it kind of like a chain shot range, where you're going to have to really kind of take into account. And the higher up you aim that to get the distance that you want, the more likely that the spread on those is going to go out. So I think that smaller ships definitely have a potential to evade some of these shots, just because at longer range, the spread on those is going to be wider, harder to hit the smaller targets. But the thing that concerns me is in those close battles, using one of those, if it gets 4 shots out, 2 of those could hit the hull, one of them could hit the wheel, one of them could hit the mast. It doesn't seem like it would take much time for one of those to really put some crippling damage onto a sloop, if you can get the angles and the RNG correctly. But Godhammer, you tend to do a lot more PvP than myself, so I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. How much balance do you think Rare needs to look at when it comes to this kind of thing?
It's going to be one of those things where they're constantly looking at the balance of whether 4 is too many shots, whether the spread is wide enough, whether or not it's if it's just one of those things that it's you could say it's rarer to find scatter shot inside of you'll maybe find like 3 or 4 of them at an outpost, much like chain shot. You might just not find it all that much. Maybe you'll only get like a couple pocketfuls. And I think to use this effectively, you still got to be in close, and getting in close is the danger zone already, because if you're at that point, you're also at a point where the other ship is also just hitting you constantly with cannonballs.
Yeah.
Danger close at that point. It's one of those. It's I don't know. It could be it'll probably be the deciding factor in some fights, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that you can just do to mitigate that. Whether or not you're just a good boarder, whether or not you've got a crack shot on the helm.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. It is one of those. It's really one of the more wild card things that I saw out of the preview. If you were talking to me about what has the potential to be more devastating in combat, this or the grapple shot, I would probably be leaning more to or the harpoon, being able to walk against the harpoon. That's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how that goes. I don't know that the cluster shot, what do they call it? What was the specific name?
I'll look up and see if I can find out what the actual name is.
Scatter shot.
Scatter shot. Okay. I don't know that the scatter shot is going to be more devastating than just being able to get somebody on board.
Yeah.
it'll be helpful, but I honestly think being able to get somebody on board more consistently is a more important aspect, because I have seen decides more contests than naval. It's the combination of the two. But having that in your repertoire is in your arsenal, more like, is an important part for naval, especially for the people who may struggle with boarding in PvP. It could be an equalizer for a lot of people as well. I'm excited to see how it goes.
So coming to that point, if you had to pick something from the season preview, or the I guess the 2024 preview, what would be the standout thing that you think is your favorite?
Oh, easily the Burning Blade. That's unquestionably the most exciting thing.
Okay.
That was coming. I've already talked about that, but just like, that's just going to be an exciting world event, honestly. Just having this massive ship out there, they stuck a shrine in it, and like, as a person who plays Warhammer 40,000, just like, I love impractical decisions like that. Just putting a shrine inside your ship. Oh, that's 40K as hell, and I love that. But more on that. It's just like, I think the idea of putting that boat and tying it towards the extraction sort of nature of the Orb of Mysteries, and getting that out of camps is going to be exciting. I desperately want to be part of a server fight, trying to fend off like 3 other boats while trying to get those things sold. It sounds like the most exciting thing. I hope, what I want to see is like a carrot that entices people to go fight the Burning Blade. I want to see a real enticement for bringing it down. I want to see big guild rep or Athena rep. Oh, Athena rep. If you sink the Burning Blade, you should get a lot of Athena rep for sinking that thing, for being a part of it. That would be great.
I do think that one of the things that Rare can do to really help incentivize people to go up against that crew who's kind of manning it, there ought to be like something on the map that not only indicates where the Burning Blade is, but what its value, what its hoard stash is. If you show how much worth there is to that, because everyone knows, like, this is how much a skeleton fort's worth, this is how much a fleef is worth, this is how much a sea fort is worth. Build the value of what this world event is in a easily discernible amount of information on the map. That will let people know, like, this is something worth attacking. Fuzzy Bond was doing stacks at Fort of the Damned. He did 10 stacks at the Fort of the Damned 2 days in a row. No one really bothered him at all, because no one really understood how much treasure was there. And until you actually, like, and sometimes that can be a boon too. Sometimes that can be a way to kind of show off, like, hey, we're really good at PvP because we can stack all of these and we're not worried about selling right now. That's a good way to kind of show, like, how good of a PvPer you are out and about. But something like that needs to be a way to kind of be to what's the word, tantalize players to go after those big, the way pirates did back in the day. They would go and find out, where are those big Spanish galleons with all the gold coming from and going to, and where can they ambush them to get all of that bullion.
I think you're spot on 100%. I love it. Put it into production.
One of the things that I think I personally was the most excited about was the bone collar. The wind collar or the wind horn was an interesting thing. I'm very curious to find out, like, how that's going to work. The harpoon gun, I think, will be very, very instrumental in PvP. I think a lot of people are going to be using the double pistol and the harpoon gun until they get aboard a ship, and then they will probably clear out the ship, lock it down, and then switch weapons. if that is a weapon. I'm not quite sure if they're doing it like as if it was like an ammo type. If it was like an ammo type that you can find in the world, I'm not quite sure like how they would allow you to equip that. There would have to be a refresh on the way our UI works as far as that goes. But I'm trying to think of where was I just going with that? Shoot, I just forgot where I was going with that. Godhammer, help me out. What was I going with this?
Ammo, replenishing your ammo with the harpoon.
No, before that, I was talking about double pistol. The thing that I think I was most excited about was the skeleton collar blunder bomb things. Being able to
wind collar and skeleton collar.
Yeah, so the skeleton collar thing I think is the most interesting because I think it has the most advantageous appeal to solo players. How often do solo players feel like they get overwhelmed with like skeletons at a fort or trying to take down a skeleton ship, or even just as a someone who's boarding a ship, being able to have a couple of those in your pocket when you board to distract people. They think it's just skeletons on the ship. You land, you get on the ship, or you throw that on the ship as you're about to grab the ladder. So skeletons spawn, the noise distracts people. They have to then clear out the skeletons, freeing up the ladder so that you can get access. You can climb onto the ladder, something like that. Additionally, I think that there's going to be ways that they're going to allow players to stealthily get onto a ship, but I think that the skeleton collar is going to be very interesting. I want to know how that interacts with when you get onto a skeleton ship and you're the only person below deck guarding the one or two holes that are down there to fill up the skeletons when they repaired. Heads up, they don't repair right now, which is really kind of a bummer. They need to get that fixed. But having the skeleton collar to be able to throw on the floor and spawn a couple skeletons to fight for you will help kind of stop the other skeletons who are trying to kill you, so that you can try and like guard the holes that are below there. I think it'll be a very interesting tool. That was kind of my standout one. Static, I see you unmuting. What do you got?
So the bone collar grenade, is that going to be the death of tucking?
Ooh, that's a really good
question. Think about it.
Yeah.
If they're tucked up in a crow's nest, a skeleton might not be able to get up there. But if they're like surrounding the crow's nest, which would indicate somebody might be up there. But what if they're down below hiding in a barrel or, hiding by your pillow on your bed? And you throw down a bone collar grenade, are they just immediately just going to go because they can sense there's somebody on your boat, or are they just going to walk around until they see some movement that isn't part of your crew? I guess that's what I was wondering there. So is this going to be like the new meta of you get back from an island, you get on your ship, and the first thing you do is you crush one of these open just to see if there's a tucker somewhere hiding on the boat? You know what I mean? Otherwise, the harpoon, being able to catwalk across on that harpoon, I hope they at least give you the option to cut the line if you get harpooned, or of that nature. Or if they're coming across that line to get onto your boat because they harpooned onto you, are they useless other than just walking? Like, can they still shoot while they're walking? Because that would be an issue to me. Like, if they're coming across on that line, they better not have any ability to like sword lunge or like shoot or something, because they're too focused on balancing on that line, which would give you a slight advantage if they're trying to board that way, because then you can either A, cut the line and then they fall into the water, or B, they're helpless, so it's just free pickings at popping off a couple shots at them. And then the other thing I had was the scatter shot. It has a wide range and a high arc, almost kind of like the chain shot, but a little bit higher. So if you were to aim really high, let's say you get in real close range on a galleon, what are the likeliness this is going to take down multiple mass at the same time? I guess that was something that kind of went through my head. Let's say you have two of them in your pocket, you fire them both. Are you taking down multiple mass and just disabling a brig or a galleon instantaneously? Or is it going to do like you need to hit it 4 times as one of these scatter shots based on the damage? I don't know. It's something that kind of went through my brain a little bit ago when we were talking about it.
Yeah, I could definitely see cause for concern for a lot of that. I would love to know how the skeleton collar works as far as like a time frame goes. Like, does it have like a 30-second time frame where the skeleton collars or the skeletons that you have only go for 30 seconds and then they break apart and disappear? Like, what's the time frame for those? Are they just indefinite? Because there's got to be a limit to those, right? Like, you can't just throw a whole bunch of those down and have them forever. Also, how does that work when you throw one down on your ship and then you leave your ship? Do they come the way pets do with you to the island or to the outpost? Like, how does all of that interact? All kind of things that have been kind of roaming around in my brain.
I think a good 20 seconds of life for these skeletons is because the way I'm planning to use it more than anything is as a boarding tool for boarding somebody else, or a counter boarding tool, just to keep somebody else busy. The main way I've been envisaging it is as a tool that I would throw onto another player's ship just as I'm about to board when I know they've seen me. That way they have to choose me or skeletons, and if they're choosing me, I can just play the evasion game as they focus, and as soon as I hear them having to deal with skeletons, then I can board, or if they're dealing with the skeletons, I can just board them right then. I don't Static's concerns about anti-tucking. I think that's perfectly valid. I don't think it should be something that cancels out tucking, because tucking is an incredibly fun activity in this game. I know, not for myself, but for the Grog's Goose, the Tuck Lord Extraordinaire, he would be very upset if that broke the tucking, and I agree with him. I hope it does not break tucking. It's too fun to have something like this as just an instant detection system.
It'll be interesting to see how the AI works for that. I imagine it will probably be akin to what we already have for skeleton ships. Concerns I have is that any changes that they do to skeleton ship AI impacts the skeleton collars as well, because I know that I don't know how those interact. Also very concerned about just how those interactions work when you have two opposing crews, or say like an alliance. Like, if I have an alliance going, I am open to betrayal for that. But if I have, people we'll take an hypothetical here. Hypothetically, we've got a Fort of the Damned that we're working on, and we're allianced with a crew, and someone throws down a skeleton collar bomb to help with the skeletons that are getting spawned. What is the priority of the skeletons? Are they going to go for the alliance members, or are they going to go for the skeletons? Is it a proximity based thing based on where you throw it? All very curious things that I have. Will they ever allow for skeletons to spawn that have more than just melee? Will they give them guns? Will they give them kegs? Are there like super rare ones that you can throw down and it'll spawn 3 skeletons with 3 kegs that they come up with, things like that.
Oh my god, do not even bring up the whole fact that they could spawn with kegs. That is not even funny.
But it could happen, right? I could see a world where they are like, hey, we're gonna have a super rare skeleton collar ball that summons skeletons that can spawn with kegs, and that's just a thing that you have to worry about. Something it's if you were to tell me back in the day, hey, they're going to add a cursed cannonball that's going to make it so your ship sinks into the water and flood any holes on the second deck of your galleon, I'd be like, no, that's a no. Do not do that. But we've lived with that for a long time, and I ended up being fine with it. So I think it's just a matter of reaction time and being able to manage that kind of thing and how you would handle it. But all just
Frankly,
ideas.
Frankly, I'm mad at you for putting this idea out into the universe.
It's going to be real fun when we come back in like a year and they're like, hey, the new Fort of the Damned is going to be on Flameheart's ship. And he has skeletons that can spawn kegs. And if you survive and you claim the ship, one of the rewards is you get one of these keg collars and you can use it however you want. Just saying.
If I had a water bottle, I would spritz you with it right now and say no.
Rude. This is a great idea. I like it. I'm going wrong with this. All right. As we are kind of moving into the last few minutes of our podcast, I did want to ask, actually, let me take a look and see how long we're doing pretty good on time. Okay. I did want to check in with you guys. We didn't talk about the harpoon gun or the blow darts. Are there things that you guys want to see out of those, or are there things that you want to see that they haven't touched on?
The blow darts are fascinating. I am curious to see what they are going to do. The harpoon gun is more or less self-explanatory. I don't think that I don't need to, this far out, I don't feel the need to expound upon anything about that because its advantages are fairly obvious. But the blow darts fascinate me as like a weapon, and I'm curious to see what they might do with that. Because what they've suggested is interesting, and I don't know how much usefulness some of those things would have. Because if you're blow darting someone, or like a piece of loot or something, you're obviously trying to do that covertly. And if you're doing it to track like a piece of loot, you need access to your ship. Yeah. So I'm fascinated. I could see a legitimate use because it's going to be in your armory, they said. So I could see uses for it as like a method of maybe doing curse ball effect, as it ties up one of your weapon slots. So maybe having a grog dart to induce the effects of grog inebriation, and then having your sword or your pistol out. That could work as a sort of balancing effect. It doesn't do like barely any damage, but it puts the effects on you for a little bit there, allowing you to get a little extra, or maybe get you with your other weapons. I think as a balance thing, that could work. I'm not sure. I'd have to see it in practice, but it's interesting. I'm fascinated to see what they plan for it.
One of the things that happened back in the beta, and they took this out for launch, but one of the things that I remember from the open beta was you used to be able to have all 4 weapons equipped. You used to be able to have your sword, your flintlock, your blunderbuss, and your Eye of Reach, all with independent ammo. So the functionality of being able to wield more than just 2 weapons is out there. The balance is what really got called into question, but that was back in a time when we didn't have skeletons with kegs. We didn't have fuses on kegs to begin with. But we had skeletons that had Eye of Reaches. So the amount of firepower you needed to combat skeletons was something that we were very, very interested in, knowing that skeletons were going to be a thing. And in hindsight, I think that it would have been warranted, but it is definitely in my mind that there is a potential where Rare could try to open up the option to have more than just 2 weapons. But if that is something that happens, I think they need to address the pirate health, because at the moment, I think that that pirate health is maybe just a little too low to accommodate new weapons. And if they want to add new weapons to give players more opportunity, I would be fine with that. But additionally, I think that they should increase the amount of health that players have to properly balance that. Anybody have any more thoughts on blow darts though? Was there anything that you guys wanted to talk about that you were hoping was going to be coming with the 2024 preview event?
Yes. I was hoping for something with hunters. I know we kind of talked about this slightly a little bit before the recording. There needs to be something with hunters. Like, at least raise the emissaries so that way it can at least go to 100. Give me a purpose to like hand in fish again, other than trying to I guess, help out my friends, because I have majority of the fish. There's a few more that I still need to catch yet, but I have majority of all the fish, and I'm still catching fish or handing in fish when I'm with my crew because none of them do any type of fishing whatsoever. So it's just I'm handing them in for the purpose of just trying to help them out. But I would at least like to see that number go upwards from 50. I'd like to see a 51. I'd like to see a 52, and so forth and so forth. Like I like watching numbers go up. And if I could at least just watch a number go up until they fully decide to introduce new fish or new monsters or whatever it is that they want to do with hunters someday in the future, at least just let my number go to 100. Give me a reason to hand in and just watch that bar go up. I guess that's really the only thing I was kind of looking forward to in this year was something involving hunters, but again, there's nothing.
Yeah, it is something that, and I know we kind of talked about this, but I do think that they know Hunter's Call needs to be addressed. I don't think that it was the initial plan for this year. I do anticipate them wanting to address it soon, though. I think a lot of it came down to the big thing was going to be Flameheart, and they knew that they wanted to get that knocked out. I would imagine that next year we'll probably address one of two concerns, either the Dark Brethren or the Sirens and the Ancients. I think depending on how Flameheart goes, they might try and change one of those to address the captain, which we still know very little about. But I know that they still have a lot of plans, and I think the thing that they want to do in between those kind of major story things is going to be Hunter's Call refresh, where they bring in different types of monsters. They do a full, addition to like actually hunting creatures and stuff like that. All right. Was there anything else that you all wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
Owl looks cute.
That's true. I forgot all about the owl. Yeah. At the very end of the video, they finally showed off what one of the owls would look like in game. And I have to agree. It's very adorable. Still think that there should be some sort of pets available for people who don't want to spend real money on those.
I mean, it's no crystal pig, but I'll take the owl, I guess.
Little steps. We gotta try and get owls in first. It took this long. Eventually we'll get to crystal pigs. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys all hanging out with me and getting to talk about this. It was very, very interesting to hear your thoughts and feelings on this. I know I was really excited to have this to come through. A lot of things that I want to talk about and concerns that I have going into the PS5 beta, information that we don't have regarding whether or not you're going to be able to log into your Xbox account to transfer those kind of special cosmetics that are coming as a result of the beta and the pre-orders. Outside of that, really hoping that the game is just in a solid state right now. It feels like there's still a lot of crashes going on with the client itself, both on Xbox and PC, and some matchmaking issues with Hourglass, and just dives in general seem like they're having a little trouble. As far as I can tell, I haven't really seen anyone really show proof of hackers since the easy anti-cheat. And I know that there was some kerfuffle about Apex Legends getting hacked, and easy anti-cheat potentially being a remote executable code injected into that, but that seems to have been disproven. So it doesn't seem like easy anti-cheat is really at fault with anything. And based on what we've seen as far as like the actual game stability goes, I would be very hard pressed to say that easy anti-cheat is really at fault for any of the issues that are going on right now. It's definitely possible, but hard to know given the type of code that they're using and how things are integrating. But we'll have to see how things go in the next month. Be very curious to hear your guys' thoughts in a month from now to find out like what you think of season 12 as we kind of kick things off, because as far as I know, the timer for season 11 got shortened by, what was it, about 3 weeks? Hammer, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, about 3 weeks.
Yeah, so was due to end in May. Looks like it's going to hit the actual 3-month timeline and end in April. which should coincide with the PS5 launch. So good news there. Just be aware, like we've got about a month left in this season. So if you are one of the folks that kind of puts off their plunder pass to the last minute, just be advised, you might want to take a look at those numbers, get a couple extra sessions in with some folks to try and get that knocked out so you get all your rewards for that. But I think that's going to do it. Going down the list, Godhammer, thanks for joining us. I appreciate your input today. Anything you want to shout out or say besides thanking the Grogged for all their hard work on getting distinction level 20?
Oh, we're on our way to distinction 5, baby. No, everybody who's indulged me, I know it's a bit of a two-way street, but thank you for everybody who's indulged me in Hourglass in the last couple days. It's been fun.
Yeah, I know it's consistently trying on my part, so I appreciate your patience and positivity. It helps me at the end of each session to come back wanting more.
No problem. Oh, it's fun. It's fun for me. I know it's not everybody's opinion, but it's fun for me. I'm having a good time.
As long as someone is. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having fun. I wish I was having fun, but I'm glad you're having fun at least.
I wish you were too.
Yeah. Well, I think they need to do some stuff with it. Because I think that there's a good possibility to revamp Hourglass a little bit, maybe add a timer to it, maybe have the ring shrink over time after a certain amount of time, so that way it tries to limit like the issue of people just doing circles and trying to board and sink when you're running out of supplies. Next up, we've got Regis Stella. Regis, we're heading out. Anything you want to say or shout out as we head out?
The only thing I want to shout out is these new fanfics that I've been reading and watching.
All right.
Yeah, multiple. Yeah, just give me a sec to get them all here. And the thing about these ones is they're interactable, like fanfics. Like you get to you and the readers get to vote on what outcome you want for the next chapter. Like basically you're playing. It's like a role playing game. Like you decide on choose your own adventures. Like there's one about a mad scientist trying to be a hero, one about Spider-Man, and one, for this podcast's sake, one about being a pirate in a supernatural world.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know they had anything like that.
Yeah, they're both on Space Battle's website, as well as Sufficient Velocity website as well.
There you go. All right. I'll throw those links in the show notes in case anyone wants to take a look at an online choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Static, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it. Anything you want to say or shout out as we head out?
Yeah, same thing as I always do. I just wish they'd bring bagpipes. I still want to be blowing bagpipes when I go into the heat of battle. I would also like to see kilts. I would like to wear a Scottish kilt while I'm out there slaying other pirates. But with the new horn that's coming out, I can't tell you how hard it's going to be to use that horn without some type of adult references or jokes being made. It's going to be very difficult without a lot of giggles going on between my crew and I.
I've already seen some good fart jokes, so it'd be very funny to see what people come up with. Alrighty. I think that's going to do it. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. Appreciate it. Just to give you a heads up, we do have a Sherpa program. Part of the community has decided that they are willing to take on new players to give them an opportunity to determine, what is the best way to stop a ship? What's the best way to stack your treasure? Where should you be stacking your treasure? What is the appropriate time and place to deal with kegs, especially if they're coming from skeletons? And they have decided that they want to help you out. So if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, we have an entire section in the Discord for Keelhauled Podcast dedicated just to Sherpas, setting up times to be able to sail with a Sherpa to give you a bit more information, some hands-on experience with Sea of Thieves. If this is your first experience getting into it, I will continue to plug these as we get closer and closer to that PlayStation launch, as this is something that was going to be cross-play. So it doesn't matter if you're a PlayStation player, if you're an Xbox player, or you're a PC player jumping into the game for the first time. Feel free to jump in, chat with some of the Sherpas, and get some much needed advice and help as you try to learn and understand what Sea of Thieves is. That's going to do it for me. Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, concerns, always let me know. In the show notes, there's the contacts for me, as well as like email and Discord, and jump in there. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks and bye.